Hey, ErinBeth, how are you?
I am brimming over with excitement today.
That's right. Today we are doing a special bonus episode because we only do this podcast once a month, but something really incredible happened during yesterday's snowstorm. Our Deckie Award arrived.
Our Deckie game!
Yes.
So excited.
Yeah, so this special episode is a shout out and thank you to all of the double deckers in the Deck The Hallmark podcast community who voted for us to be Best Hallmark Podcast of 2022, which is super exciting because we only started in September, right, with the Andrew Walker draft.
I cannot believe, to take the phrase that Dan used, we are taking the rage by storm. I mean, come on. We are, just starting out, but a Deckie. Seriously? Because, who needs an EGOT when you have a Deckie? It's a Deckie.
Exactly. So far, we're about 6 months into this. I have to do the math. September, October, November, December, January, February. We're getting ready to record our March episode with three fabulous double deckers on the panel. It will be about Tyler Hines. But this whole Deckie Award thing just really caught us both by surprise in such an incredible way. We were up against so many well-known, much bigger Hallmark-themed podcasts that this was just such a delight.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if you remember when the ballots came out and our name was on the ballot. I'm like texting you and I'm like calling, come on, Lynn, look at that. Yeah. I mean, this really was a situation where being nominated was just, it was amazing because that seriously is our double decker community supporting each other, which is what we do best. Is the double deckers support each other and they are a great community.
Absolutely. And that's really why when I first started this, it was really just a Zoom meetup. And it was actually Bran in one of the Lunch with the Boys, the one that he forgot to record, where Dan was talking about the draft session. And Bran said, well, how can I listen to it? But it was on my personal media account. And then Bran said, well, why don't you just make it a podcast? And I was like, deer in the headlights, like, oh my gosh, I don't know about this. But we just jumped in with both feet and here we are. Today.
Here we are.
So it's all great. And the whole reason that I started this was because I really just wanted to shine a light on the voices in the double decker community. So that's why all of our guests are Deck the Hallmark Podcast double deckers. We're just here to have shenanigans and hear what our fellow double deckers have to say about the movies that we love and the movies that we love to maybe not like so much. Right.
And those double deckers, I mean, the personalities are beyond. I never will our side chats ever be published. But sometimes I wish the listeners could really see the chatting going on prior to the show. Because it gets, I mean, it's pretty, hard in there sometimes. They're going after each other, friendly, but it's fun. And the personalities are just great. And we get to see, the fans behind Deck the Hallmark and how much we truly love Hallmark movies.
So ErinBeth, what I thought we could do as sort of a celebration is to talk about the four draft podcasts that we did that people listened to, that were eligible for people to consider when they were voting for the Deckie Award stuff. And it would just be a way for us to kind of celebrate and relive some of the funny moments that happened. So before we do that, I'll just talk really briefly about how did this whole thing started. I mentioned this in one or two of the podcasts. So here's what happened. I'm a big fan of one of the drafting podcasts that are out there. There's several drafting podcasts, and I happen to love one that's all about feature films. And I coincided with Bramble Fest, where I wasn't able to attend at the last minute, so I'm joined virtually. and I'm watching the karaoke, and Andrew Walker comes up to do karaoke, and he's introduced with Mrs. Walker. And I'm like, oh my God, is that Andrew Walker's wife? So I wrote that in the chat. I'm like, is that Andrew Walker's wife? And all the double deckers in the chat are like dying. They're like, man, it's Emily. She is just a super fan. So I'm watching Emily throughout like the whole Bramblefest thing. She's got a pillow with Andrew Walker's face on it. And I thought, oh my God, I want to do like a Zoom meetup where we draft the best Andrew Walker Hallmark movies. And I need to have Emily on this panel. So how can I get like the Zoom meetup going? So I posted this little fishing expedition in the Double Decker Facebook group, and I just say, hey, does anybody else love this, movie draft pod that I am totally addicted to? And there were like 4 or 5 people that responded right away. And the very first person was Dan from the Deck The Hallmark podcast. So I messaged Dan and I said, here's what I'm thinking. I want to do a Zoom meetup, and we're going to, do a draft of the best Andrew Walker movies. And I want to get Emily onto the panel. What do you think? And he said, I am in. I am so in. So that's how it started. So that first panel back in September was the best 11 Andrew Walker Hallmark movies out of the 23 that he had done at that time. And it was Emily and Dan and Jillian. And is there anything that you particularly remember from that particular draft, Evie?
Oh my gosh, if there is a different moment that someone has that stands out in that draft other than the one I can think of, I would love to hear it, because when Jillian vetoes A Dream of Christmas at 7, just to play it again at 6, I am telling you, it was like this most epic moment for our first time doing that. I still can't get over it. I laugh about it. It's funny. It is just hilarious. And Dan's reaction. Oh my word.
Dan has a complete meltdown. It's so funny. There's a clip of it on that's on the Hallmark Movie Draft Instagram that people can listen to. It's hilarious. And Dan actually at one point nicknamed Jillian Lady Panda based on one of her reasonings. And those two are getting matched up again in April. They're 2 of the drafters facing off for the battle royale with Elizabeth in April. So it should be really funny to see what happens between them next. And they're already, the 3 of them, Elizabeth, Jillian, and Dan, are already throwing down for the last couple of weeks.
Oh, it's great.
That chat. So it's really great. So the next one we did was in October, and this one was like a best 7 Hallmark movies that were filmed on location. They actually had to be filmed in the places where they said they were going to be. And this was a tough one because there were 24 that were eligible, and they had to get them down to 7. So the 2 drafters were Tracy and Katherine. I paired them up because they're friends in real life, and it was like, will this friendship survive this draft? And it was wild. It was really, really competitive.
Oh yeah, like those 2 ladies were at it from the very beginning, and I wondered, would they match a lot? Because a lot of times friends, they tend to like the same things, and oh wow, they didn't. And I had a moment of humility because I thought I know all my Hallmark movies, and suddenly Lovelocks gets thrown out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's one of my favorite. I watch it every time it's on. How in the world is this not on my list? And how did I not remember it was filmed in Paris of all places? So that one was so much fun. And Katherine, with her drink of the pod, it was great.
Oh,
she paired her wine. It was our very first one. It was great. I loved that one. It was a lot of fun.
Katherine and Tracy have become part of the HMD fam. Totally.
Absolutely.
Katherine's filled in a couple of times to be a guest co-host. She does such a great job, and I'm really encouraging her to patent her BACA eligibility filtering tool, because she's caught some doozies that were missing, and she's caught some doozies that weren't eligible. So we really love that. And Tracy is just hilarious and amazing. So
oh my gosh, yes,
they're really great. That was a really fun matchup. And then in November, we did another 7 draft, and this one was for Luke McFarlane. And the reason that I wanted to do Luke at that time, not just because he's a fan favorite, but because in November, that was when his last movie for Hallmark was going to be airing. You know, he had just done the movie Bros, getting a lot of positive buzz, and he had announced that most likely he was not going to be doing Hallmark movies anymore. So for that draft, again, since it's the 7 draft, there's just two guest drafters on the panel, and that was Cece and Jessica, both first-time drafters. Both are 2 diehard Luke fans, which came out really quickly. And so there were 14 movies that were eligible, so they had a tough job. They had to, cut that list in half to come up with the top 7. Now, I'm going to ask you, even though I already know this, was there a particular moment that stands out in your mind from the draft?
Was it the 3-hour and 25-minute long rendition of What a Valentine's Match was about by Cece? Oh my gosh. I was laughing so hard. I had to mute myself because I didn't want to go over what she was saying. It was so funny. And I will honestly say, here we are all these months later, and shirt jacks and hardware stores actually Cece mentioned something about it today. So it's still out there. We're still laughing about it. I think it really goes down in the Hallmark Movie Drafts Hall of Fame as one of the greatest moments. It really was just hilarious.
It was epic. It was unexpected. There was welding. I mean, she just went off, and it's so funny. And again, that clip of Cece is on the Instagram as well. So it's just hilarious. And I think it's just really one of my favorite drafts. They've all been fabulous. There's always something unique and unexpected that happens at least once. And Cece and Jess really brought it for that one.
Oh my gosh, they did.
So the last one that we're talking about will be the one that we did in December, because I think that's when the voting started for the Deckies and all the categories and everything. So we'll stop with this one, but it's a great one to celebrate. So for this one, I wanted to do the top 10 Hallmark Christmas movies, and the people that I chose to reach out to for this was really strategic on my part, because I knew this was going to be a lot of heavy lifting. There were 40 new movies, and I didn't want to include the Christmas in July ones, just because I was more focused on the Christmas countdown movies, right? So there are 40 of those. So choosing, the top 10 out of the 40, these are all new. So there's no one there that can say, oh, I've seen that already, I don't need to rewatch it. It really took a lot of dedication. So one of the guests on the panel is Brian, who's on the podcast for Deck The Hallmark. So he had to watch it. It was part of his job. And then there's Mary, who has her own website and her own podcast and features Hallmark movies. So this is part of her job as well, because she puts out a lot of great content about the Christmas movies. So looking at, who would be a great third panelist, I went right to my friend Susie, who is super competitive, gives Brian, just pushes Brian's buttons left and right, and they're hilarious together. But you know what? This isn't her job. She doesn't have to watch these movies. That's not how she makes a living. But she was a trooper. She did it. She hung in through every single one. It was absolutely so fabulous of her to do. And then I asked Vanessa, who is a diehard Christmas movie fan, if she wanted to be the guest co-host so that she could chime in and offer her perspective as well, and then compete against you and I in the co-host, side hustle. So is there anything that you recall particularly out of this draft among Brian, Susie, and Mary?
Well, I will say working with Vanessa was really a lot of fun. We came up with our trivia questions together. So that was a lot of fun, and I love working with her. So I look forward to possibly doing that again or having her draft something. And then for a memory from the podcast, it has to be, I'm going to say the name of the movie, although I think we called it 100 different things, A Cozy Christmas Inn. It was called Everything Under the Sun That Was Not a Cozy Christmas Inn, but for Brian to be able to slide that in at number 4, I will still go down as a moment in my heart because it's sad. It's there. But the fact that we get, Mary, who is fueled by rage.
Oh, the Enneagram 9. Mary declared
my gosh,
Enneagram 9.
yes.
That was hilarious.
It was absolutely a great moment. That cozy in at 4, that hurt a little, but I think Brian actually feels like he's gotten one over on everybody. So
I think he has to. Well, the really good news is, spoiler alert coming that for December 2023, we're that far. I'm that far ahead in planning and getting the titles locked in and the panelists all locked in. Everything is set actually through the rest of 2023, and I'm already starting on 2024. But Brian, Susie, Mary, and Vanessa have all agreed that they would come back and throw it down again in December to do however many movies Hallmark is going to roll out. And maybe this year, if they do, the Christmas in July again, as they typically do, maybe we'll include those as well. But I try to just focus on the Christmas, the countdown to Christmas stuff. So that is, those are the 4 shows that people got to listen to, that we were, just cutting our teeth on. And it was super, super fun. And I'm really honored by how quickly people say yes when I reach out to them. And I don't think people should hesitate to reach out to me if they're interested in potentially drafting. I do have still a lot of names on the list from when we first started that I just haven't gotten to yet, or it's just not a right fit at this time or for those topics. But so far, everybody that I've mentioned is going to be on the show again at least once, and that's a question that I always ask off air. Is like, would you like to do this again? So, some people want to do them back to back, which I think is just incredibly insane. But maybe someday. I know that I tried my hand at drafting in the most recent draft on fake relationships, and it's a lot of work, and you never know what's going to happen. Yeah.
Nope. They broke you a little. Just a little.
They broke me a lot. They broke me a lot. We're going to be recording the Tyler Hines draft next week, so that'll roll out in the middle of March. And then in April, as I mentioned, it's going to be the Battle Royale. It's all about the royal movies with Dan, Jillian, and Elizabeth. And then in May, you're up at that. I don't want to spoil it. Yeah, I don't want to spoil the topic yet or who's on the panel, but I'm really excited about this particular one.
I am so very excited, and I started a long time ago making that list. So
yeah,
it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think the recent addition that started with the fake relationship draft, where Erin, who is producer extraordinaire for Deck The Hallmark Podcast, and is the official mixologist for Hallmark movie drafts, she came up with some really wonderful cocktails and mocktails for the fake relationship draft. And she's done 4 incredible ones that we'll be featuring in the Tyler Hines one. So
that's gonna be so exciting.
it's just a great addition. And it was really Katherine who had reached out to her to get that started. So I think it's really fabulous.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
Yeah. So I think we can close this out with playing a clip from the Deckie Awards show where they talk about the nominees for the Hallmark Podcast of the Year, Hallmark Movie Podcast of the Year. And then at the end of the clip is our thank you speech where we give more shout outs. But this is just my love letter to all the double deckers who have been so supportive. It's my love letter to everyone in the Deck the Hallmark universe. It's my love letter to you for being, so ready and up for shenanigans anytime I say
every time.
I've got this idea.
Every time. And Lynn, I want to tell you, thank you so much for putting this together, because it really is a fantastic way to just really showcase the double deckers and the love that we have for Hallmark movies. So that is to you for doing that, and you produce and edit and everything. So thank you very much.
It's great. Thank you. I think, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's really about the double deckers and their voices and their personalities, as you said earlier in the show. It's just such a treat to learn more about them, and you never know what they're going to say. So
that's right.
So thanks again, everybody. And here comes the clip for the award show, and we will see you again in a couple of days in March.
Hallmark Podcast of the Year. Hallmark Podcast of the Year.
Whoa.
Do you think we scored a nom this year? Do you think we finally scratched it? The first year we got nominated and lost.
It's only year 4.
Last year we didn't even get nominated, and Dara won.
I do want to put this on the record. I don't think that we should win, but I do think we should at least be nominated.
Yeah, top 7 or 8.
We put out a lot of
there
stuff.
There are 8 nominees here, so
some of it is listenable.
Yeah, I think occasionally. Let's get going here. First nominee, Mark Only One Oval. Sorry.
That's best bit 2023.
Yeah, we're already prepping for next year, guys. Melissa Peterman's hosting. We're just doing that bit. It's great. The first nominee is Dear Hallmark.
Your Hallmark.
Should be another double deck.
Decky.
The next nominee, Hallmark Happenings. Sweet Betsy out in Kansas, I believe. Hallmark Movie Drafts. Lynn Austin, ErinBeth Cermak.
It's a newer one to the scene, but one that's taken the storm by rage.
It is taking the storm by rage. Don't tease me with a good time.
That's right. All of us. Well, we've appeared on that show, correct?
All 3 of us.
And we've all been on Hallmark Happenings, and you've been on Dear Hallmark. So, I mean, collusion.
So far.
Suspenders Unbuttoned. That's Julie and the gang over there. They love the Kevin McGarry. Deliver Me a Podcast with Casey and the gang. The Hallmarkies, Rachel, and they've won before.
They have won before.
You've got Hardy's Hotline, and then lastly, this is a funny one, guys. You should check this out. Technically, It's Romance is the last.
You're right.
So
it is funny.
I think it's technically romance.
Technically, It's Romance is what it says here.
I think it's technically romance, and I want to give a shout out to them.
Yes,
it's technically romance.
It's technically romance. So this is wrong.
But technically it is romance, and it's technically romance.
Yes.
I think if you look it up, you'll find it one way or the other. The thing that I'm
stuck on here is unless Mark Only One Oval is like code for Deck the Hallmark, we didn't get a nom again. We're just stuck hosting.
Look out those letters real quick. In the phrase "Mark Only One Oval," can you spell Deck the Hallmark?
Can you? You cannot spell Mark Only One Oval without Deck the Hallmark.
There's none of those letters.
Except flip it and reverse it.
There's an E, which is nice. There's a couple of L's. There's an R and a K. Yeah, we're in trouble. The winner of the Hallmark Podcast of the Year award. And to be fair, we cover other networks, so maybe we just can't.
We don't qualify.
Oh my gosh, it's Hallmark Movie Drafts.
Wow.
Hallmark Movie Drafts.
Hey,
Lynn Austin,
congratulations.
ErinBeth Cermak
Fantastic.
have won this award. A new podcast on the scene, Taking the Storm by Rage. And we have them on the line.
Nice.
Take it away, ladies.
Oh my goodness, a Deckie Award for Hallmark Podcast of the Year. This is incredible. First of all, thank you to the Double Deckers who nominated Hallmark Movie Drafts for this award. It was an honor just to be nominated.
And thank you to all the Double Deckers who voted for us. The support you've shown has been overwhelming and means so much.
You know, one of the reasons that I started Hallmark Movie Drafts was to celebrate the voices in the Double Decker community. So a special shout out to the competitive and hilarious Double Deckers who join us on the show to debate and create these top 10 lists. And to everybody who has shown enthusiasm in the Facebook group, and most especially to our listeners, every single one of you, including whoever it is who's listening in Australia and in some place called the U.S. Minor Outlying Islands.
Yeah, wherever that is, I'm glad they found us because we do have a lot of fun here at Hallmark Movie Drafts. But gosh, it is a ton of work. So this award is a very big deal for us little people.
Well, I wouldn't say we're little. I mean, we do have 57 followers on our Instagram. Oh, hey, wait, 58.
We did it.
We all did it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hallmark Movie Drafts is produced by me, Lynn Austin, with additional creative and research support from ErinBeth Cermak and Katherine B. This show would not be possible without the dedicated and talented Deck The Hallmark Podcast Double Deckers, who share their passionate opinions on these Hallmark movies that we love, or maybe not love, so much. Intro and outro music is courtesy of Amada Zapana. If you love this pod, please leave a 5-star review. It helps other Hallmark movie fans to find us and join in on the shenanigans. Be sure to follow the show at Hallmark Movie Drafts on Instagram.